Introduction. Outsmarting reality is like a game of chess in which you are outsmarting your old frequency. At first glance, the title of this book raises a lot of questions. What does it mean to outsmart reality? Can I outsmart reality? How do I outsmart reality? Why do I need to outsmart reality? What will I get from outsmarting reality? It may seem like something completely audacious, something beyond you. However, that is only if you're not operating from your true self. The truth is, outsmarting reality is the only way you will create your desired reality. If you cannot outsmart reality, then you will always feel like you're one step behind where you want to be in life, which I assume is already how you feel. Unfortunately, this is how the masses live, forever wishing they were in another reality, without realizing they are simply losing a game for which they weren't given the rules. Imagine playing a game of chess without knowing how all the pieces move. Whether you realize this or not, there is another version of you that you spiritually created, a version that desires nothing more than to remain the same at any cost, even to your own detriment. The word reality may be in the title of this book, but the truth is, it's just you. Until you can make sense of you, nothing in your reality will make sense, because reality is no more than what you are. You and your reality are one. There is no separation between you, and the unawareness of this unity is the source of your disharmony. This book isn't even about reality. No form of manifestation should ever be about reality or changing the world. It's about the only thing that matters, and that is you. That brings me to the sole purpose of this book, to get you to give yourself your desired reality before the world gives it to you. Whatever it is you desire to be in this life, you need to become it before the world proves it to you. I don't believe you should be worried about enlightenment, opening your third eye, ancient civilizations, the true origin of humanity, bloodlines, 5G, or psychic abilities, if you're still struggling to pay your bills, or worse, still wishing your reality was different. Now, it may not be that extreme for you, but the basic premise of this book is, if you're not in your desired reality, then what is the point? With all due disrespect, you have bigger concerns, and those concerns revolve around actually living in a reality that you want. Don't get me wrong, those things have their place. Most definitely, but spirituality without the ability to control your reality is nothing but complete vanity. I repeat, the only aim of this book is to get you to give yourself your desired reality. With that being said, I'd also like to clarify that you won't find any sexy new techniques, strategies, or methods for manifesting in this book. And I put that in quotes because it's likely you have the wrong definition of what that even means. The only things you will find here are timeless principles, principles that explain the mechanics of the universe in relation to creation and how you work. Finally, let me make this clear. You may be holding a book, but that's not what you're really reading. What you are reading is your level of consciousness, and nothing more. The reason for that is simple. You don't see reality as it is. You only see it as you are. And you are forever evolving, forever changing. So what is revealed to you today won't be the same as what's revealed next week. This book will not be your savior. You are your only savior. A word to the reader. I am typically hired by elite 6- to 8-figure entrepreneurs, professional athletes, and Hollywood actors. Not for what they publicly preach about hard work or smart strategies, but for what they will never tell you, the hidden, esoteric, and metaphysical secrets of the universe that allow them to achieve more by doing less. I am brought in to help them transcend effort entirely, to show them how to operate multi-dimensionally, where it is no longer about working harder or even smarter, but about stepping into a state where the universe itself seems to be on your side, where results flow effortlessly from alignment, not force. My clients have doubled, tripled, even quadrupled their revenue in weeks, landed TV roles, and accelerated their careers, not by working harder or doing more, but by shifting their beliefs and aligning with the success they once chased. This is the real secret behind many of the world's elites. It is not that they are intentionally hiding it from the world. The truth is, even if they did speak of it openly, most people would dismiss it because it defies the logic and beliefs that society is conditioned to accept. In a way, through this book, you have hired me, and for that I thank you. I have not held back at all. It's an honor and truly a pleasure to share with you the knowledge usually reserved for those at the top. However, it must be made clear that this book will do no more for you than you allow it to. You will find no more in these pages than you allow yourself to find. Decide that this book will position you to alter your reality for the rest of your life, and you will position yourself to do so. Decide that you will experience light bulb moments while reading this book, and let your mind light up. Decide that this book will be more than enough for things to change, and change will come. Foreword. Written by Mama Nero. When my mother was a little girl, it was her dream to be an author. I wished to make that dream come true, so I asked her to write my foreword. Thank you, Mama. I stood motionless for a moment, clutching the worn-out broom in my hand. My thoughts were far away. I stared intently at one spot near the ragged fence that separated our yard from the neighbors. I vaguely took in the ailing hedge that had not quite prospered in its duty to provide added security and privacy to us. What occupied my thoughts was an image of me living abroad. I saw myself working hard to support my family. My thoughts spun around to what my father had said a while ago. He told me that the only way our family's life could improve was if he were dead. Then we could do whatever we thought was best to improve our lot. I clutched the broom tighter due to an intense feeling of frustration and felt the dried grass digging into my hand. With determination, I started sweeping the leaves away. I continued this motion, my back bent, until the small area in front of the house was clean. All the while, my thoughts had transported me to an unknown land, far, far away from here. I knew back then that I was going to make it. There was no doubt in my mind. I was going to be the one to take my family out of poverty. My father was a government worker with a relatively good salary. My mother was a homemaker. However, despite my father's job, daily life was a struggle. I could feel my mother's unhappiness like a sharp knife in my side. I saw her struggling to raise us children, trying to make ends meet. I saw her pain after my youngest brother was born. She suffered from a mysterious illness that left me fearful she was going to die. I was 9 years old at the time, living in fear every day that the one person who struggled daily for our well-being might not make it. I started to pay more and more attention to her. I realized at that young age that she was suffering. In the tiny home we lived in, it wasn't difficult to overhear the adults talking, arguing about money, school fees, and daily living expenses. Daydreaming became my escape. I started to imagine a better life than the one I was in, a life where I could provide a safe, loving home for my family, where all basic necessities were met, and money was plentiful. This led me to dream vividly about being a millionaire. Thus, my childhood was spent watching my mother's face daily, trying to gauge the level of stress she was under, feeling powerless in the face of her misery. I vowed not to be a source of added stress for her. I began hiding anything I thought might cause her worry. When my shoes were torn, I would sit quietly in the corner and mend them with pieces of twine I had picked up near the tree where the shoe mender waited for customers. My source of joy became escaping to the only place no one else in the world could penetrate, a corner of my mind where everything was as it should be. My mother was happy, safe, and free from worry about the next meal, school fees, rent, or other basic needs. In that space, I could give her money freely, so she didn't have to worry about anything. I imagined her having more money than the so-called educated woman my father constantly compared her to. My mother's words constantly rang in my ears. She told me I could be more, do more, and most importantly, to never settle like she did. She always emphasized the importance of having a certificate in my own name. When I passed my GCSE exams, my uncle who lived abroad sent me a check for what was a substantial amount at the time, as a way of congratulating me. I knew the money would solve a few immediate problems, but I wanted more than a handout. I dreamed of a job that could truly change our lives. I persisted in my vivid daydreams, seeing myself living abroad, sending money home to my mother, helping with bills, and paying my brother's school fees. I never cashed that check. Instead, I held onto it as a symbol of hope, proof that I could escape this life. My intuition told me my uncle was going to be my way out. My imaginings became more focused, more realistic. I could feel the tension in my spirit as the realization dawned that my dreams could come true. I could feel it in my bones. I withdrew into myself more and more, spending time alone with my thoughts, imagining my uncle sending for me to join his family in the UK. I felt immense joy from this exercise. This escape into my secret world became a daily routine. I used every opportunity, especially during solitary chores, to visit that wonderful life where I was able to solve all my family's financial needs. Then, one day, after I had written my GCSE examinations and had started working as a shop assistant in a local shopping center, news came from my uncle. He was going to send an air ticket for me to attend university in the United Kingdom. When I heard the news, I wasn't surprised. There was no ecstatic moment of joy. What I had been waiting for had finally happened. I hastily sent a message to my school friends to say I was traveling, then went to the capital city and arranged for a passport, which came through in a few days. Within weeks, I was in the UK. It wasn't until years later, when my son became my teacher, that I realized what had truly happened. I had a burning, overwhelming desire to succeed. That desire led me to create and cross a bridge of incidents that caused my dream to manifest into reality. Somehow, my untrained mind had caused a shift in the universe, prompting my uncle and his wife to make arrangements for me to join them, making my desires come true. In a new and foreign land, I started working toward my goals, barely an adult, but already taking on responsibilities within my family, just as I had promised myself I would. Then my son was born, before I had even completed my nursing education. My family was disappointed in me, seeing it as a failure. But I remembered my mother's words, how her own family had seen no value in educating her simply because she was a girl. They believed she would just get married and never benefit the family. I became even more determined. I completed my course while my family cared for my son. Now I had a more pressing reason to work hard, to get my child back from the parents I had entrusted him to. Over the next 20 years, I stopped listening to that inner voice of my childhood. I lost the directions to that tiny room in the corner of my mind that I used to escape to. I told myself I had no time for childish fancies. I became more concerned with surviving, solving other people's problems ahead of my own, and most importantly, being a good mother to my son, Nero. Occasionally, I would think back to that time when I held the broom in my hand, pressing hard on it while daydreaming, only to have my strongest desire come true. That moment became a reminder of what I could achieve with my thoughts alone, and a strong desire. My greatest joy growing up was bending reality. I could escape to far and amazing worlds simply by opening a book and losing myself in it. I wanted my son to experience this wondrous world too. I started encouraging him to read, for fun. Imagine my joy when he asked me to buy him books. That joy soon turned to mild concern when I noticed the titles he was drawn to. My son began an adventure of a lifetime. Before I knew it, he was devouring books daily, asking for one after another, all while completing his education. Even as I tried to guide him, I sensed that his energy was greater than mine. I had lived in survival mode. He did not. I became curious about the books he was reading, wondering how his mind worked, slightly perplexed by this person in front of me. Then I tried reading the books myself, and I couldn't understand a thing. Then the haze began to lift, and I started thinking again. I tried to reconnect with that part of my mind that could make the unseen real. I am currently working through the fear of who and what I can become if I once again apply myself and harness the power of my mind, as that young girl once did. I walk through the maze daily, with my teacher Nero holding my hand. Having learned that before I can change anyone else, I must first change myself, I continue my onward journey of self-discovery. I am forever a student of the universe, learning its laws and its secrets with the belief that I can partake in the banquet that is laid out before me. Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest. Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes, and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. John 4:35. Seeing things that are not yet seen, as if they were seen, has been the biggest lesson so far. For everything, every circumstance, starts off as a thought and becomes visible for all to see. Happy learning, reader.